Okay, my holy brothers, brothers of all brothers, we are learning in the month of Shvat, sponsored by the Silver family in memory of Batya Fega Bas Yisrael, sponsored by the Gold family in memory of Tchia Shirel Shimona Bat Sara, and the Refuah Shlema of Hadas Chava Yochevet Bat Sara, and by the Pollocks, by Joni and Moshe Pollock, Lilin Ishmat Shimon ben Moshe, it's Moshe's grandfather, Tzvi ben Mordechai, another one of Moshe's grandfathers, and the Elui Nishmas, one of the most precious souls this world has ever been blessed with, and that's Joni's sister, who Zev and I had the schus of knowing very, very well. Shira Rachma Bas Rav Alter Nasenata, that's Nate's, our holy tzaddik Nate Davidovich's daughter, who passed away 16 years ago. 16 years ago. Shira Pransky. We'll talk more about her a little bit later in the month, closer to her Yortzeit. By the Heilige Polstein family, Leilun Nishmas Frida Sven Bas Yitzchak, and by Dr. Peter Chaim Shleimer and Rosemary Warshavsky. The week is sponsored by Gila and Goel Jasper, Leilun Nishmas Reuven ben Shmuel, that's Goel's Abba, and by Rav Isaac and Shira Selter, Leilun Nishmas Chaim Yitzchak ben Meir Halevi Weisberg, Rav Yitzchak Meir's grandfather. All right, Chaverim, on the sefer, you open up the daf Kuf Chaf Aleph. Kuf Chaf Aleph. It's a big simcha today. It's a simcha that's, I would say it's a simcha that's escorted with a load of responsibility. It's almost like after the sefer is done, I'm kind of feeling like, oh my God, are we sure we wanted to learn this stuff? Like, because, you know, like, no, there's Torahs like that where you learn it, it's like, wow, it's gewalt. Then there's Torahs like, time for, you know, I got it, it's on, yeah, like, it's just on. So this is a Torah of like, okay, game on, whether I like it or not. So this is the last thing we're going to be seeing today is finishing off on the menorah. Now, if you remember, we started speaking about this on Wednesday, that remember that with the candles, the chart that you have on Daf Kuf Chaf, how each candle corresponded to another sphera. And when the Kohanim would come in, the first candle that they were closest to was Malchut. Yes, and then it goes Yesod, Hod, Netzach, Tiferet, Gvura. Chesed was the one that was closest to the Kodesh Kodashim. So, just to speak about this outside for a second, because when we talk about Midah of Malchus, tell me something. When you think about a king, a Jewish king, what's one of the quintessential Midas of a melech? Of a king? Who was the last person in Am Yisrael you could say he was mamish, like you felt like he was a melech?
Rebbe.
I would say the Rebbe too, 100%. And one of the midas that is so inherent about the Rebbe is the midah of, in Malchus, is the midah of Anava, the midah of Shiflus, the midah of relating to people, where each person, where they were at. The non-Yiddish concept of Malchus is authority, is just sovereignty. So we still don't have anyone that we could recognize within Am Yisrael that's running on the level of melech, right? That's really like trying to lead Am Yisrael on the level of melech, at least that's visible, at least that's clear to us. Although I will speak a little bit about last night's event, which I think is very important, and I'm taking an achrayus, especially after, I'll talk about it in a second. So now let's understand, last week we spoke about the significance of the first candle, the fourth candle, and the sixth candle. Chesed, Netzach, and Yesod. But now the question is, bottom of Kuf Chaf Aleph, Nishelet HaShe'ela, Ma'u Yichudo Shel HaNer HaShvi'i. What's the whole, Ma kol kach miyuchad b'Ner HaShvi'i? What's so special about the seventh candle? What's the seventh candle? Malchut, Melech. Harei kol HaShvi'in Chavivin. Now, does anyone remember the reference? Where? What year? Tavshin Yud Aleph. Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud Aleph was the day that the Rebbe became a Rebbe. And in his opening, you know, you have to listen to it. Because what he does there, Basi Lagani Achesi Kala. This may be triggering for some chaver that grew up in the Lubavitch, but Moshe, you're good? You're okay? We're okay? You didn't run out yet? Okay. The Rebbe set up in the first mimer, okay, right there when he shows up on the scene, the Rebbe's like basically mapping out what he's going to do, or what the avodah is going to be, and what this door is all about. And he speaks about the union of Shvin Chavivim. The seventh generations are always Kol Shvin Chavivim. Whenever we come to the concept of seven, it's always extra special, like Shabbos, like Shemitah, like many other things. It's from the Beikra Rabbah, as you see in the back. So the Rebbe was saying that from the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, that we're the seventh generation. So the seventh generation has an union of bringing Shabbos to the whole world, of bringing real Malchus to the whole world. So there's something special has got to be about this candle. We kind of like jumped over it last time. There's something unique about this candle. What's special about the candle is that it's not about him. It's not about that candle. Ve'adarabba, sihara leis le migarme klum, which is a very, very famous statement that the Zohar HaKadosh says. Does anyone know what this is referring to?
Yeah.
Sihara?
Malchus just receives. It doesn't flow like other spirits into each other.
Nachon. Now, what's Sihara?
Is that the moon?
The moon. Sihara, leis le migarme klum. That means the light of the levana, of the moon, which is the corresponding to Midah of Malchus. It doesn't have any light on its own. What's the light of the moon? So what is it doing? It's just reflecting. It's all about reflection. It's all about reflection. This is very important for us to understand where we're going with this today. Hachavaya pnimit shela, the inner experience of the moon, of the Malchus, of the seventh candle, he hashiflus. Shiflus. Humility. Midato shel David HaMelech, which is what King David was all about. Yichud haner hashvi hu shone. So the uniqueness, it comes about in three different ways. Shlosha panim love, the seventh candle. Na'utz sofan betchilasam. That means, in Hebrew, na'utz means like etched, like fixed. The end is fixed in the beginning is fixed in the end, like the Sefer Yetzirah says. That was also a bracha that Rabbi Avram Aryeh Trugman gave my daughter, my firstborn, at her Simchat Bat, because her name is Tiferet, which is the same thing as Na'utz Sofan Betchilasam, that the last letter is etched in the first letter, tough and tough. So he was giving over these beautiful brachas about Malchus, that the end is really in the beginning is really in the end. It's a whole unit on its own. What does this mean in our context? Besof ha'ta'alich, at the end of the process, hopefully, of this whole tikkun, besof ha'ta'alich ha'miterachesh b'malchut, mishtakef v'nishlam or ha'chesed shel avas ha'am ve'ha'aretz. What's the beginning process? What's the beginning of the process? What was the first midah? Chesed. So he's saying that at the end, through the midah of Malchus, all the chesed and love that we talked about in the beginning, the real love for the land, for the people, for the Torah, for the privilege of being a Yid living in Eretz Yisrael, for the privilege of being a Yid living in these times right now, will be reflected. You'll be able to really understand what love is only when it reflects back on the midah of Malchut. And this is very important. As much as we're trying to tap into real love right now, without Malchut being established within the Am, all we're getting are nice teasers. They're nice. It's not yet really the way it could be. Meaning, as much as we I'll tell you something beautiful. Last night, how the kids are jumping around. I'm trying to get them chill, quiet, this and that. It was just a balagan. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. It happens in my house. It was just a balagan, and everyone's jumping around and trying to get them all. And suddenly my phone rings, and my kids, Joey's jumped to see what it is, and it was Hanan called on a video. Suddenly, the whole quiet. We were going over the Torah from Shabbos and the Mea Shiloach about the arbe, about the locusts. It was a very, very deep teaching. Anyway, at the end of his conversations, like he taught me to do this also. He always says, "Ani ohev otcha." Bye. Just like that. And it's so special. Not because it's him. Anyone that could actually end up, like we say, okay, bye, I love you. But if you say the word I, and you add to the word love you, it's already Malchus. Think about the difference. Bye-bye, I love you. And now say, bye-bye, I love you, for some reason, it really is a game changer when you say I. And the words love you, because you give it like real.
Encapsulates.
Yeah, it really does. He never says ohev otcha. Ani ohev otcha. Ani ohev otcha. Whatever love we've been tasting until now, and we do feel we love Am Yisrael, we feel we love Eretz Yisrael, we feel we love Torah Yisrael. It's only within this thing called Malchut that all the love that we're feeling really feels like it's for real. And that's why we don't always buy into people telling us I love you or love you, because we're missing Malchus. We're missing it in the world. So he says over here,
Are you referring to actual Malchus or the Midot of Malchus?
Listen, this sefer is but not just the Midah, it's the whole ball of wax, right? It's the whole shebang. It's the whole geschäft. It has to start with the Midah of Malchus now. That's what it means, Na'ut Sofam Betchilatam, that the beginning, Chesed, can only be really felt when Malchus is there, in its right place. Don't get depressed, guys. We're on our way. This should be, it should make us feel like excited. Hamatna Beis, Hamalchus hi kli hakibul. You know what kli hakibul means? A receptor, a vessel of reception. Lechol hatochen haruchani sheme'alea, for all the spiritual context which is above it. That means Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. There's a lot of spiritual entities going on over here. Where does it land into? To feel like it has a place in the world? Malchus is the lander. Malchus is the place that can receive all of it in a practical way. He otzeret et kol haorot betocha. It treasures all of the light before it in it. Umachzira ota lemikoram ha'elyon. And it restores it to its supernal, to its supreme source. Shelo ya nitfas musag lahem atzmam. That means that without Malchut, not just Chesed can't find a way for it to come out into the world, but also Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, all of them. Without Malchut, we can't. You know, I always had this weird vibe with Dayenu in the Haggadah. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Dayenu is a weird one. I never really, I almost was like, I have like a little bit of a rebellion, Seder night, when it comes to Dayenu. I don't know why. It strikes me,
None of it seems enough.
because none of it kind of seems enough. Ilu, like one of them is, remember the one that says, Ilu nasan lanu hotzianu mitzrayim, velo nasan lanu satorah Dayenu. Now the one, Ilu nasan lanu satorah, velo hichnisanu le'eretz Yisrael Dayenu. Right, no? Am I the only one that
Hashem either gave us an all or he didn't.
right. I don't know. I always felt kind of weird with it. So here it's the opposite. He's saying, Ilu nasan la.
I always look at it like almost in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's the enemy mitzvah? The Torah, like, whatever we have is good. It's good the way that we have it now. It doesn't have to be like, yes, the way that it is now. He took us out of Mitzrayim. That's good. Dayenu. He didn't give us the Torah, but he took us out of Mitzrayim.
Then you should then it should, if that's the pshat, then it should have said Hotzianu, not Ilu. You should just say Hotzianu meretz Mitzrayim. Don't add Velo natan lanu, just say Hotzianu meretz Mitzrayim. Dayenu.
It's what we should strive for, but the fact that we have what we have now that he took us out, Dayenu. We've had this discussion in the past in terms of like we should Ezo Ashir Samech B'Chalko, be happy with what you have, but you also want more. Right? So the fact that we're out, be happy with the fact that you're out, but you want to push and you want to strive for the Torah. But at the end of the day, the fact that we're out, Dayenu, for now.
I think it's just easier to say Dayenu because we got the Torah and we came to Eretz Yisrael. So that's why you could say Dayenu.
Right.
If he hadn't, we wouldn't be saying it.
The fact that what happened, it's good.
Good is but good is different than Dayenu.
Dayenu means it's enough.
Exactly, but it's not. But that's my.
I think it's Dayenu that we're
For
saying.
now.
I think the way I understood, because I agree with you. When I get to that, it like
It stirs up. I don't know what it is.
The message that
Yeah.
the way I live it, and interpreted it is Dayenu in terms of what follows in the Seder of the Haggadah. Is it would have been enough to give Shevach to Kodesh Baruch Hu
On that.
on that.
I think it's what are you saying? Yeah.
And then
That-
Kodesh
that-
Baruch Hu gave us the next, and wow.
Yeah, but it also feels like a little bit of a used car guy. You know, like you want the extended warranty. If you would have bought it, like
No, again,
be
it's only
genuine about it. If it's gratitude, it's gratitude. It's not and not that.
it only works because you got
Thank
it
you,
all.
Hashem.
It
Thank
only
you for
works
this
because you
too.
got it all.
Thank you.
I think you can read it below also. Can you say you're saying took us out of Mitzrayim below? Not only that, Nasalano Satorah Dayenu Gaval. You can read it with it's
Meaning put a comma after velo.
Not only that, below. Not only that.
Velo?
Nasalano
Nasalano
Gaval Dayenu. Wow.
Like the Trump, you're gonna be winning so much, you're gonna say stop. We're winning so much, we're not so comfortable. Stop winning so much.
Here, why am I bringing up Dayenu here? Because here, it's basically, you can't say Dayenu, meaning you can't say, Ilu zachinu lehanchil es midas hachesed betoch ha'am Dayenu. It doesn't work because for chesed to really do what it needs to do, you need the Malchus. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Perhaps that's why we experience so much Shvira Sakelim, not the Malchus.
100%.
Because there's no Keli. The Malchus
100%.
seems to be the Keli.
100%.
Is it safe to say that Malchus takes all the other midot and refines them?
Yes, of course. He said, "Lo haya nitfas musag lahem atzmam." On their own, you don't really. I remember I once got off stage at the Kotel on Yom Yerushalayim. I used to do it was the biggest. It was crazy. What's that?
He said his.
Oh yeah, that's correct. I named it though, Kip. I had his guitar for a while, which became my guitar, and then he took it back, and I don't know where it is, but I don't have it. Where is it? Where is that guitar?
I saw B'nai Menashe and Kiryat Arba.
I mean, good for them, but why?
It was broken.
Anyway, so there's 100,000 people there. You guys ever go at the end of Yom Yerushalayim? I'm sure you went. No, you sure at the end? Nuts. It's wild. Now you're on stage. There's literally 100,000 people there, right? It's so high, and the tzaddik Anav Shafel Chaim David would call me every year to Yeshua. You were there? Bidiyuk. So I would do it with him, and it's really hard to put into words. But I came out the stage one of the years, and I felt so depressed that I wasn't moved by all of it, and it freaked me out. I'm like, what else do I need? So I called the captain, and I told him, I need the fuk. אני כנראה דפוק, because this is not doing what it should do to a normal human being that's on stage, playing his nigunim, playing his Rebbe's nigunim, whatever, and there's 100,000 people, and it's Yerushalayim, it's Yom Yerushalayim. So he said to me, no, Shlomo, you're not dafuk, you're not a melech yet, because you don't have yesod, because I wasn't married yet. So he's saying you don't have a kli kibul to place in there all these gewaldig eures because there's no bite. There's no bite yet. And Malchus is the hashlama of the bite. And that's why I relate very much to what he's saying here. I'm saying you could experience the most gewaldig things in the world, but without a home to place it into. It's a long Torah from Rav Shlomo and Evan Shlomo and Parshas Bereishis that Adam and Chava didn't have a home established yet, so they couldn't really understand Hashem's word. Did you see that one, Ari, in Bereshis? They couldn't really, there was nowhere to put it, there was no home to put it in. And he connects to Nadav and Avihu. What was their Indian? One of the reasons why they got killed is that they weren't married, right? They wouldn't establish a home. So they had such gewaldik hasagas, but they didn't have a home to put it into. So us Yidden also, we have all these amazing thoughts and ideas, but without Malchus, that's the hashlama of the Bait, we just don't know what to do with them. And they all stay in the realm of like theory, but very high theory, very like nice and deep theory, but we came back home to build a bayit in Eretz Yisrael. And the way a Jew builds a bayit in Eretz Yisrael is Malchut. A bayit, a Beit HaMikdash. That's what we came here for. 3, the third thing about Malchus. Etzem malas hamalchus hi bekach sheyichuda eineno memaked et tzumet halev al atzma. He's saying one of the actual Maila, what's so high about Malchus, is that its uniqueness does not put the focus on itself. It doesn't grab attention. Malchus is not an attention grabber. כשהכהן נכנס אל המקדש מן המזרח ורואה לפניו את המנורה, you got to go back to the visualization. When the Kohen comes into the Beis HaMikdash from the east, and he sees before him the menorah, he doesn't focus on the most eastern candle, which would be Malchus, right? What's the first impression? Haroshem harishon shu kolet b'mabato, hi shel hamenorah kula kedavar sholem. The first thing that he sees, he doesn't see individual lights. He sees the whole tmuna. He sees chesed also, but he sees the whole picture of the menorah. Even though he's closest, God bless you, even though he's closest from the way he's entering to that thing of Malchus, Malchus doesn't take up space. I don't know how to say this in any other way. Malchus doesn't take up space. You know how when you're in the presence of a real tzaddik, is that not only do they not take up space, they actually create more space.
Give you some of theirs.
Huh?
They give you some of theirs.
Mamish. That Alter Rebbe has a mimer on this in davening, how something about having the deeper machshava you have about the Ribono Shel Olam, the more room you have to think about Hashem. The more you're thinking about yourself, the less space you have in your thoughts, the less space you actually have. So Rav Ginsburg is saying that's what the midah of Malchus is so unique. It doesn't, even though it's the game changer, it's kivyachol the end. It doesn't come out and say, "Hey, you all need me. Without me, you're nothing." That's not a Jewish king. That may be a foreign king. Jewish king, the mahut of it is shiftless. Haner harishon shu ro'eh eno mefane et tzumat libo el atzmo, ela lehimatzut hamenorah bichlal. The first candle that he sees doesn't take up his space. The Kohen sees the whole picture. V'kach b'malach hatikun, and so too in our sefer, while we're going through tikun of this whole thing called the Medina. Le'achar ha'aga'ah la'shlav ha'shvi'i, after we reach the 7th level, mitbarer lelo safek, we see without a shadow of a doubt, shekol hashlavim otam avarnu ba'atzlacha, that all stages that we Baruch Hashem passed with success, sheyachim lemahut echad ve'yichida, are all part of one unit. Malchus shows us that everything we're working on is part of one unit. As holy as each unit, as holy as each midah is that we've learned on its own, you could still come out of her thinking, this is the only thing that needs to be fixed, and if we do this, it'll be fine. Like you can become obsessed with judicial reform, thinking that this is the only thing that needs to be fixed, and if you do this, it's all gewalt. It's not true. Or you could also go to Gvura, and you could say, all we need to do is to kick out the Yishmaelim, and then everything will be fine. That's also not the emet la'amito, but you only know that once Malchus is in place, and Malchus is an ability, a real Rebbe is a melech, shows how everyone is part of the process, and everyone is needed. And again, because it's just in our minds day and night, to quote Rabbeinu Tam, and he said it so amazing on your podcast, that everyone, if you haven't listened to yet, you have to listen to the podcast that Hershey and Yakir did with Tom. Watch it or listen to it. There's a lot of Torah in it.
His opening line is the best line of the whole.
What was the opening line?
Where he said, where he
Life
said,
is just a
he said,
sliver.
Yesterday, I'm not
A
a big
piece
fan
of
the
bread.
future, I'm not a fan of the past, but today's a slice of bread.
Yeah.
That was the best.
He says there, he talks about family business, and then you or Yakir said, what do you mean by family business? It's family business. Family business is that this is a business that's run by the family, and you got to do your share. And I need you to do, like each of us need each other to do their share. That's family business. But a melech, a mamish, a melech is the one that brings that consciousness from just being a cool saying to being a reality, to be something very, very real. That's the midah of Malchus. That could only come through all the shiftless we're speaking about.
What's interesting in the way he's formatting it is that we always think of chesed, then gevurah, but in this way, when you enter the heichal,
Yeah.
the first thing you're doing is you come
Malchus.
the Malchus first, and then you're going backwards.
Nachon. Yeah. But I think it's because of two things. Sof Maseh Machshavat Chila. Remember what the purpose is.
To get back to inside.
Right? Remember what the purpose. Just keep the purpose in front of you, and then you have to go weiter, and then go back to the beginning. Nachon. And the other thing is what we said. Na'ut sofan b'tchilasan. That just remember, keep your eye on the prize. This is I told you guys so many times. This is what scared the Satmar Rebbe and many of the other tzaddikim, Kedoshei Elyon, that couldn't stomach the Zionist movement because they felt, and I hope it's okay I say this, and their nerves regarding this were definitely justified, even though the action level was what we're trying to be the tikkun for it. They were nervous that Malchut, that the Yidden here, with all the good intentions, would never have Malchus in their vision of why they're here. Maybe they just get stuck on Chesed or Gevura. So that's why it's very good what you're saying, Aryeh, is that the Kohen would walk in right away. The first thing he's like, okay, this is what it's about, but he didn't get caught up by it because the way that Malchus shows itself in the world is that it's family business, and we need all of it. We need all the midas together. That's what Malchus shows, that each person is literally not just loved, is truly essential. Sometimes you people say that, and they say, he's trying to make people feel good. He wants to make people to feel like they're used. Yeah? But I thought about this Torah once years ago. I don't know who, I'm sure someone else said this. It can't be, it's my Torah, but listen to this. The Ribono Shel Olam turns to all of the creation on the sixth day, right? And what does he say? Who is he talking to? Who is he talking to?
The trees, the plants, the animals.
Now, why does he say the word na'aseh, which means? Why? Why? But was it the emes? Does God need anyone else to help him create man?
The chomrim he used.
But the ratzon of Hashem, the way He created the world, yes, is that if He didn't want it to be like that, there'd be no purpose of creating the world. So He says, Na'aseh Adam, to make every yitzur, every creation feel that without me, Ribono Shel Olam, the world is lacking. Rabbi Twersky has a great sefer, one of his great sefers. I think it's called Let Us Make Man. It's a beautiful sefer, right? It's Rabbi Twersky's. Let Us Make, very special sefer.
Maybe it's also to help all of creation feel like it's indebted to man in the sense that, like, since they were part of making man now taking resources from all of creation, like, it's okay. Like, they expected it to happen. Like, it's sort of like,
Askama. Okay. Haneros hakanim arbaim v'shnayim akishutim hashonim. The candles, the one that would hold it, the 42 different kishutim of the menorah. At the end of the day, how do we refer to it? Kula miksha achas zahav tahor. That at the end of the day, when we look at it, it's really just one unit. All the things that put together the menorah, all the midot, it really is just one unit. One miksha achas zahav tahor. Yes. Gilui zeh, this revelation, ha'acharon, the last one, who's si'o ha'amiti shel ha'talich ha'metu'ar kan, this is the C, this is the pinnacle point of the whole process here. Haner hashvi'i be'atzmo hu itgalut Mashiach ben David ki'ishiyut, the seventh candle on its own is a revelation of Mashiach ben David as an actual personality. Hitgalut ishid zo, hitnai mukdam lasi ha'amiti, this revelation of this person being an actual entity, a human being, is a prerequisite for the real peak, which is Hagilui she'akolu echad, that everything is one. Shelishmo mitgale Mashiach ben David, this is why Mashiach comes to the world. What does it mean that he redeems the world? That the people start saying, Aya, Aya, and now they're just, wow, I'm not in pain anymore. That's not Mashiach. Mashiach, we learned this in yesterday's women's shir. Someone asked the Shaila, what's the role of Mashiach after he comes and redeems the world? Is there any, does he just go away? No. Mashiach is going to take us on a da'as trip like we never imagined before, of Gilui Elokus like we never imagined before, of bringing us connection to Hashem like we never imagined before. The point of Mashiach coming is not just to win the wars and build Beis HaMikdash and bring all the Yiddelach home, it's also to show us how everything is one. There's no pirud. There's no separation at all. Everything is Elokut. Hagilui shemitzad, third line from the bottom. Hagilui shemitzad hamalus hapnimis va'atzmis. So the revelation from the side of the inner meaning of Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Torah Yisrael, V'havaya Hashem Elokei Yisrael Kulam Echad, that it's all one, that all of us Yiddelach are all one, and that the Torah is one with us, and the land is absolutely one with us. This is the Gilui of the Malchut of Mashiach ben David. And only then, the last pasuk of Aleinu that we say 3 times a day, will actually be seeing something in front of our eyes. Azai, V'haya Hashem lemelech al kol haaretz, b'yom hahu yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad. And then Hashem's name will be one. Hashem will be one, and His name will be one. Which brings me to a Karduner song. How does he go there? Not that one, although that's a great one. No. Not that one either? No. Definitely not that one. You're testing me. No. It's the first, it's a Torah on Likutei Maran where he says that when a person is able to mekabel everything letova, it's a zot ha'bchina hi me'ein olam haba. No, what's that song? It's basically I think it's Torah Dalid, that today when something bad happens to a person, they say Dayana Emes, and when something good happens, you say Atova Meitiv. La'asid lavo, we're only going to be saying Atova Meitiv on everything, because we're going to see one in everything. Do you know which niggun I'm referring to? Yeah. How does it go? Because the words of Rabbi Nachman are so. Da, of course, it starts with the word da. Whatever. So you'll figure it out. We'll send it out. Listen, I want to give us a bracha that. Let's be real. The bits and pieces, the slices in between that we've been able to learn from this sefer. No. This is like the 3rd or 4th one. Yeah, it's not there. That the slivers and slices we've had from this is that this sefer came about. No one's ever learned this. We're the only freaks that actually, as a chevra, took this sefer and learned it from the beginning to end. You realize that, right? Even Rav Ginsburg's Talmidim, when I tell them, they can't believe it. But the only person that's not shocked is the Rav himself, because we want to be busy learning things that we feel like are lemaisa. This has been over 60 shiurim in this sefer. And we, when I first looked at it and I was thinking, this is something that's been on my shelf for years, and I want so badly to learn it with the chevra, but it's just like, there's so much Kabbalah here. I can't give this over. And I have such a karas hatov to every one of you, because every person here actually really took this sefer to heart. It wasn't just nice information or saying I've attained new levels of das, and it just shows that every person that learned with us here cries over Am Yisrael, because we all know we're in desperate need of a tikkun. I feel that the matzav in the Medina is way, way worse than before October 7th. To be very, very honest. Not the matzav of the door, of the young people, of the young generation. The matzav of those that still have anything to do with decision making is horrific. It's a galut mindset that has nothing to do with anything that we've learned in here. Doesn't have to do with chesed, doesn't have to do with gvura, not tiferet, netzach, hod, yisod, and definitely not to malchut. Definitely not to malchut. And therefore, I'm just want to say that first of all, the Ribono Shel Olam should mezaka us to play our role, to figure out a way to take from each midah that we learned over here into our hearts, to bring it up lamaisa, to have these kind of discussions that we've been having in this year with other people, to not be scared of it, and to really believe that if we keep our eye on the prize of Malchus, then that alone will humble us when we speak about these things. Like, we'll be representations of the Midah of Malchus, which means we'll walk around like humble human beings that feel so blessed and honored to spend time in that we're not wasting our time with our Gilgul. That we can really say, at the end of the day, after Me'av Esrim, I gave this a good shot. I gave it a good shot. I tried. I tried something. I didn't think we'd come out of here and be like, okay, now let's start a political party.
Well, maybe we should.
I know you're being serious. I know. So when we go to meet Rav Ginsburg, when I come back, I'm going away on Wednesday for a few days, and when I come back, we tried to schedule it before, but it just didn't work. I want you to ask. I want everyone here to ask whatever questions they have to the tzaddik, to where this Torah came from, and say, Lamaisa.
It almost seems like what we're learning today is that like until we have the Malchut, it's not. So I always thought that we needed all of the things to happen in order to get to Malchut. It almost seems like you need the Malchut in order for all the other things to happen.
Great. It's a great observation. Yeah, I saw that. I was also thinking like that last night. I'm like, so which one is it?
Right. So.
But I think he said a gewalt thing. He said, but the Kohen saw that the first thing when he walked into the Kodesh, like, so that's the first thing he saw, but it didn't it didn't take up his space saying it's got to be all this or nothing. But while he was working through the tikkun,
But he saw that first.
he saw it, but no, he didn't start with it. He sees it first, but he starts with chesed.
I don't believe that this is a linear
Right.
progression. I think the whole concept that we end with here is to very much make it clear that Sof Mased Mashabat Chila, the concept, or Tiferet starts and ends the same way,
Yeah.
is that as many things in Yahadus, it's much more circular and there's no beginning and end. They come together. It's a mishulav. And that the Malchut is what complete something, but it doesn't, there's no beginning and end. It's completion.
Well, one thing.
It's a hard concept for us.
One thing is a beautiful thing, and I agree with you. One thing is beautiful things that many people start things, but they don't end up finishing. Right? How many Siyam Shasas we should have done by now with all the Masechtas we started? Right? There's so many things we start we don't finish. At least we could say, Hashem, you gave us the schus to finish a sefer as a together. It's a beautiful thing. It should be a zgula for us in our lives to complete things that we've taken on. Bezrat Hashem, l'shem shamayim.
I'm sure you know what you want to be going to next, but there is a concept of 101 times.
Yeah.
This sefer, now that we've completed it,
Yeah.
I think we would do very well, having learned it together, to now go over knowing already what's coming and make it more.
Yeah. Let's see who shows up to next year if I say that. Oh, one more thing, Chevron. This I just.